And all I saw was like a big piece of fat like hanging out of my arm and just blood like bleeding down the side of me.
And then I took a flashlight out from my phone and I put it on my leg, and then I realized my leg from my quad all the way down to my ankle was covered in blood. There was no skin to see.
Just kind of lifted up my shirt and looked, and I was like, holy like I was stabbed. I heard the bubbles come from out of my chest, and I just immediately thought the worst.
Stabbed and stunned. We've been hearing from former high school students who are talking about a party that happened in Connecticut. Thank you for being with us. I'm Julia Janae, and we are following along this trial for Raul Valle, where 4 stabbing victims are identified by this prosecution. One died from his injuries, James McGrath, and that's who Raul Valle is standing trial for murdering. All 4 of these children were at this Shelton High School party the night of May 14th of 2022 when Valle and his friends arrived looking to continue a fight that had occurred earlier in the evening at another house. The defense is expected to claim self-defense, saying that Valle and his friends, who went to a different high school, were outnumbered by kids at the second party. Let's get you back into the courtroom now. We've been listening to one of the stabbing victims, Ryan Heinz, under cross-examination by the defense attorney.
Whose voice was it? Was it just one person?
I believe so.
And how did they say they're back?
They're back.
Just like that?
Yeah. They're in the front yard. They're back. Just like that.
Just like, oh, they're in the front yard, they're back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not excited or agitated in any way?
No.
Not, they're in the yard, let's go, they're back.
No.
No, because you said instantly you were like, I want to go see what it is, right?
Yeah.
What did you think it was going to be?
I don't know.
You just were curious about what might be going on.
Yes.
So you decided, I'm going to go out and just see what it is.
Yes.
Did you walk leisurely back to the front yard?
Yes, I did.
Didn't run?
No.
But you told the state's attorney that you were anticipating a fight in the front yard, right?
No.
You said you anticipated a fist fight when you talked to him.
No.
You don't recall telling him before that you anticipated a fist fight when he was asking you about whether or not there were weapons?
No.
Were you anticipating a fist fight?
No, I really wasn't.
So the truth of the matter is, when you walked out there,
Yeah.
you were anticipating a fight because you wanted payback for 5 Lazy Broke, right?
No, I just walked out there to see who was out there.
Well, you'd heard they're back, right?
Yes.
That's what drew your attention to going out there, right?
Yes.
You thought they're back meant you were going to see the kids in the pilot again, right?
Most likely, yes.
The kids that you had thrown the can at before, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't want payback.
No.
You weren't anticipating a fight.
No.
You didn't think, man, I've got 20 of my buddies from the Shelton High football team here. We got pretty good odds on our side.
No.
You were just curious.
Yes.
He told us that you walked into the yard and you were somewhere behind the red bush, right?
Yes.
And you saw, well, first off, when you were somewhere behind the red bush, did you see Tommy Connery?
No.
He wasn't in that area with you?
No. I remember I was one of the first people that walked outside.
You were one of the first people that walked outside?
Yes.
When you walked outside, did you see Faison Teal?
No.
Did you see Tyler Rich?
No.
Who did you see when you walked outside?
The defendant in De Silva.
That's it?
Yes.
So you were the first one outside?
One of, yes.
Well, who else was out there with you?
I don't know.
Well, how do you know you were one of?
Because I can remember, I never made it, like, I was inside the basement, but I never, like, left the area of, like, where the stairs were, like, to lead back outside through the corridors. So when somebody said, they're here, I was already right there, right by the stairs, so I was one of the first person that stepped up the stairs and walked outside.
I thought you told us before that you had gotten back, went inside his house, and you're in the basement, and everyone seemed to be in there.
Yeah. They were all in there, and I was one of the last people in there.
So now you're saying you didn't get into the basement, you were still on the stairs.
No, I was in there. I was just next to the stairs, like at the bottom of the steps, you can say.
The person who said they're back, were they inside or outside?
I don't know.
And you came back up the stairs and you went and you stood behind the red bush and you just saw these 2 people in the yard.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see the exhibit behind you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Do you still have the pointer with the little red tip on it?
I do.
Okay. Can you show us where you saw the two individuals?
They were right about in this area.
Okay. So they're back by the red bush.
Yes.
Okay. Beside the black truck?
Yeah.
In front of the cement square?
Around there, yeah.
Do they look like they were coming into the house?
I don't know.
That's the same path that people take to get to the Bilko doors, right?
Yes.
Where was Mr. De Silva?
He was behind the defendant.
Behind the defendant?
Yes.
Could you see him?
Yes.
So was he behind and to the side or directly behind him?
Behind and to the side.
Which side?
My right side. So
As you're facing the street.
Yes, I'm facing the street. So
Mr. De Silva is on the side by the what we've described before as Belgian blocks there that go along the side of the driveway.
yes.
Okay. And where was Mr. Valle?
In front of him, and in like more like this area up here a little more.
Okay. So up close to the tree line.
Yeah.
And you were one of the first ones out, you told us.
Yes.
And you didn't see anything in Mr. De Silva's hands?
No.
Didn't see anything in Mr. Valle's hands?
No.
Didn't have a knife out that he was flashing around and saying, who wants some?
No.
In fact, he wasn't talking to you, right?
Who?
Mr. Valle.
About?
Well, he wasn't talking to you. He was asking, where's Aiden King, you told us.
Well, he was talking to me, asking me where Aiden King was.
You thought he was asking you where Aiden King was?
Yes, he was.
Do you know Aiden King?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Aiden King?
Played football with him.
Okay. Do you know if he knows Mr. Valle?
I don't know.
Objection, how?
Sustained.
And you said that you interacted with them, right?
Yes.
And what did that interaction involve?
The defendant walked up with like his shirt up over his head, like trying to hide his face almost. And he was saying, where's Aiden King? Where's Aiden King? Where's Aiden King? Just repeatedly over and over again. And by this time, it was me, Ty Wood, and Nikki DeJesus all next to each other. And we're like, don't worry about it. Like, it doesn't matter where he is. And I pulled the shirt off of his head and I was questioning him, saying, like, what are you doing with that on your head? Why are you wearing a shirt on your head? You look
So
stupid.
you reached out and you put hands on Mr. Valle.
No, I just kind of went like that. Because he had his shirt up on his head, so I just pulled it down.
Shirt was on his head.
Yes.
You reached out and touched the shirt,
Yes.
but that's not you putting hands on Mr. Valle.
Not in a physical way, no.
You thought you were straightening his shirt out for him, making sure he looked okay to his
Yeah,
tie.
I mean, I never really seen people put their shirt up on their head like that before. I didn't know what he meant by it.
You didn't tell him, Aiden, I don't know where Aiden is.
Yeah, I did say that.
Oh, you did?
I don't know where Aiden is.
Okay. I thought you told him, don't worry about it, I'm right here.
Pretty much, yes.
So that's not, I don't know where Aiden is, right?
I said all of it, yes.
You said, I'm right here.
I believe so, yes.
Indicating to him that you were the person he needed to deal with, right?
No. I was just the person in front of him.
The tip of the spear, so to speak.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you were the first one that was confronting him, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
And you told us that at this point, you know that you had been joined by at least two others that you've identified to us, right?
Yes.
And that was Ty Wood?
Yes.
And who was the other person?
Nikki DeJesus.
Okay. Can you show us on that exhibit behind you there where they were?
Right next to me?
Yes.
So, like, right in this area.
Okay. And there's now three of you at least.
Yes.
Was there anybody else out there?
Not that I know of, no.
So you think it was just the three of you and Mr. Valle?
Yes.
You weren't aware that other people had started to come out of the house?
No.
Could you hear other people?
No.
What was Mr. De Silva doing?
I don't know. He was kind of just standing behind and to the right. I wasn't really paying attention to him. Like, after I took off the defendant's shirt off of his head, I was really just locked in, staring him right in the eyes. I wasn't worried about Mr. De Silva.
You were staring him right in the eyes?
Yes.
And you say he had his own shirt up over his head before you reached out and pulled it down. Were you standing in such a way that you were blocking anybody else's view from seeing Mr. Valle?
Objection. How would he know?
Sustained.
You said after you pulled his shirt off of his head that he got crazy and started freaking out, right?
Yes.
Became very argumentative.
Yes.
Asked you, why'd you take his shirt off his head?
Yes.
Asked you, what are you doing touching me?
No.
He took a swing at you.
Who?
Mr. Valle.
No.
No?
No.
You didn't see him?
All right, let's hit a pause button on this cross-examination as it seems to be heating up just a bit. Let's bring in National Trial Attorney Krista Ramey to give her thoughts on what we are seeing so far. I mean, this is no doubt a tragedy all around, Krista. We have this young man who's having to take the stand after being a stabbing victim, being at that party, and the way he's being cross-examined, it seems that he's the one on trial, but this defense attorney is doing everything that they can to help their client.
Yeah, defense attorneys doing their job. And this happens a lot in these types of cases. I deal with them kind of on the school bullying side of things, where you'll get kids that get into fights and then someone gets seriously hurt, you know, and it starts out kind of as mutual combat. And so, you know, this is hence the self-defense that is going to be, you know, playing out here in this trial. You know, you got to own your bad conduct, though. And so I don't know that these kids were maybe prepped adequately enough by the prosecution to not be so reluctant to own their bad conduct, because they were part of the problem as well. They helped escalate things that evening. And so it's a tragedy all around. But I think that there could have been some better prep in these witnesses owning their bad conduct, so it doesn't look like they're hiding anything while they're on the stand, because that could be really problematic for a jury.
Does the escalation that you're talking about that perhaps the other students were involved in, does that lessen the culpability once Raul Valle brings a knife to this fist fight?
I think it does, because once the fight begins to escalate, if he has any fears or concerns for his friend, then it falls into maybe that defense of others when he goes back to get the knife. That's going to be the problem, because he goes back to the car to get the knife. He didn't already have the knife on him. So it wasn't something that he was able to reach for when it began to escalate. He was able to leave the situation, which, you know, says to me there was a cooling off period. I think that it's problematic, but it can be argued. You're really going to have him take the stand in his own self-defense, I think, to make that defense work.
The cooling off period can be key in a self-defense case where we have this provocation, perhaps. We're going to continue to see this cross-examination play out of Ryan Heinz. Krista, stand by. Before we hit this break, though, we do have a programming note about one of the other big trials that we are following here, the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. One of the central figures in that case is going to be joining our Vinnie Politan on closing arguments on Thursday night. You'll remember him as someone who was one of the male escorts identified by the victims on the stand.
I was working as a male exotic dancer, stage name Punisher.
Do you recognize these individuals?
I do. Mr. Sean Combs, Ms. Cassie Ventura. I was hired sometime in late 2012 to create like a sexy erotic scene for them on occasion.
The Punisher testified as part of the federal prosecution's case, and he told the jury about his participation in freak-offs with Cassie Ventura. How does he feel now that the prosecution and defense have rested their case and we're getting close to closing arguments? It's an interview you don't want to miss. Watch our closing arguments tonight with Vinnie Politan, Thursday night starting at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on Court TV. We'll be right back.
Brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Oh my God, this doesn't happen here.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Kohlberger.
You could tell there was some off about him.
He was stalking them. He was hunting them.
Forget about motive. We don't even have a connection.
This trial will be on Court TV.
And I pray that we have justice.
The Idaho College Student Murders Trial. Live coverage begins this August, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thank you for following along with us as we are in Connecticut for the Prep School Party Murder Trial for Raul Valle. Let's also look at some of the other cases we're tracking here at Court TV. In New York, prosecutors have indicated that they don't intend to move forward with the arson and kidnapping portions of their allegations in the racketeering case against Sean Diddy Combs. We'll have a live update from Kelly Craft on the ground there in New York as they have just postponed the charge conference until 2 o'clock today. And in Florida, it's day 3 of testimony in the missing boyfriend murder trial for Christopher Davis. Right now, a forensic technician is testifying to scratches found on Davis's hands. We'll keep you updated on these trials throughout the day, but let's go now to the live trial we are following in Connecticut with the victim on the stand, Ryan Heinz, who was stabbed during this high school party brawl, and he's under cross-examination by the defense attorney for the defendant in this case.
You didn't see him take a swing or flinch?
Oh, he was flinching the whole time.
He was flinching the whole time?
Yeah.
Because there were, by your account, 3 people that were facing him.
Yes.
Did you become aware at some point that there were more than just 3 of you out there?
No.
You never became aware that there was more than 3 of you out there?
Well, after I had gotten up from the altercation I had with the defendant.
You said that at least you, Nikki DeJesus, and that lasted, you said, for 30 to 45 seconds.
Probably, yes.
And you were challenging him to fight, right?
No. No, that's not, like, no, that's not at all. None of us really were saying that at all.
Insulting his clothing?
You could say that, yes.
Did you ever feel anybody push against you from behind?
No.
But out of nowhere, Tyler Rich punches Mr. Valle in the face, right?
Yes.
Where did Tyler Rich come from?
I don't know.
You don't know. So at that point, you would agree it's not just 3 of you, it's at least now 4 of you that are fighting with Mr. Valle.
I'm not sure.
Well, there's you, right?
Yes.
There's Ty Wood, right?
Well, I don't know if he was fighting.
Well, he was right there with you.
Doesn't mean he was fighting.
Okay. Fair enough. Nikki DeJesus was right there with you.
Yes.
And now Tyler Rich was right there with you as well.
No, he just came out of nowhere and punched him in the face.
Right. You would agree he at least was now fighting Mr. Valle, right?
Not that I don't know.
Well, you would at least agree that he punched him in the face out of nowhere,
yes.
Right? And so the 3 of you, Ty Wood, yourself, Nikki DeJesus, you were distracting Mr. Valle so that Ty Rich could punch him in the face.
No.
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 But after Tyler Rich punched him in the face, you backed off, right? And you were like, oh, Tyler Rich has got this.
No.
No. You went forward, you got on top of Mr. Valle, and you told us that you punched him at least twice in the face, right?
Yes.
In fact, people crowded forward at that point, right?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
I just know of my actions.
And your actions, at least, were that you punched him twice in the face, right?
Yes.
While he's down on the ground, right?
Yes.
You're over top of him, right?
Yes.
You've got control of him, right?
No.
No. You don't have a handful of shirt in one hand and a punch in the other?
No.
But you would agree you're at least over top of him?
Yes.
Delivering these 2 blows?
Yes.
Only 2 blows?
Yes.
Nobody else has joined you in this attack?
Not that I know of, no.
And the crowd didn't push forward?
I don't know what the crowd did.
Crowd didn't swarm around?
I don't know.
You heard screaming?
Yeah.
You heard yelling?
Yeah.
You heard somebody say, "Yes, sir."
No.
You saw it in the video, at least?
Yeah.
That was Tanner Chernowski.
Yes.
Filming this, right?
Not the beginning of the fight, no. He got the end of the fight.
The video that we see, that was Tanner Chernowski who recorded it, right?
Yeah.
And he was recording that and yelling, "Yes, sir," right?
Yeah.
And that was sort of celebratory, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You described to us that while you were on top of Mr. Valle punching him, his shoulder and his bicep were held back?
It seemed like that, yeah.
What was holding it back?
I don't know.
And you could see his fist, right?
Yes.
And at some point, you got off of him and walked away, right?
Yeah.
After you felt a stick, right?
Yes.
And you said he wasn't trying to hit you in a certain spot.
No, he was just, like, I just seen his fist like this, just going like this repeatedly over and over again.
Flailing wildly.
Yeah.
And your injuries, sir, start sort of at the middle of your body and make their way down and to the backside, right?
So yeah, my first one is up more near my armpit, then one's down more by my hip, and then the other one is like my mid-thigh.
Where was Tommy Connery at that point?
I don't know.
Didn't see Tommy Connery?
No.
Did you see other people punching or kicking Mr. Valle?
No. Did not.
It was just the two of you isolated.
Yes.
And you told us that after you got off of him, you realized that Tyler De Silva was in a fight, right?
Yes.
And that he was fighting with his own group of people, right?
Yes.
And how many people were fighting with him?
Looked like 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
And you did not engage with Tyler De Silva, right?
No, I did not.
You didn't throw any punches or throw any kicks at Tyler De Silva?
No.
The fight took a minute.
Around that, yeah.
Could have been more, maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
No, it was probably less.
Probably less. Less than a minute?
Yeah.
Looks like a bit of emotion there from this victim on the stand. And did you notice the defense attorney getting him to accept and admit that the defendant was flailing wildly when he stabbed him, that he wasn't intending to hit him in a certain spot? The defense wants the jury to hear that, to go against this idea that this was an intentional murder.